Talk presented to you by Top Sports News. I am one of your hosts, Caleb Jenneret. Next to me is my co-host, Isaac Deer. Isaac, we got a long episode today, but how are you doing right now?
Yeah, bonus content for the people today, I tell you. We have a lot of wrestling to talk about. We have a lot of bowling to talk about, and we got a ton of basketball to talk about with Substate coming up this week. But man, I'm doing pretty well. Just another glorious day in the capital city. And by the way, I had a tweet kind of to do some numbers yesterday. Topeka needs a few things. All right, they need a Raising Cane's. We need that for one. I don't know if you've ever had Mi Ranchito in Johnson County, but I put Mi Ranchito there. It's amazing. Brahms Emporia, shout out to Emporia. Love you guys. And what was my other one?
Portillo's
in Illinois. Yeah, that's one of my all-time go-tos. I went to Illinois. I've been to Illinois a few times, but Portillo's, boy, that's different. That is a different establishment. Yeah, so Topeka needs to get going here because we're not alive forever. We're not on this earth forever, so they really need to make me happy and bring a Portillo's, a Cane's, a Brahms, and a Mi Ranchito in town. That's all. But I don't know if that answers the question of how I'm doing. I'm a little sad that we don't have those establishments there, but I'm ready to talk about some preps.
Yes, 100%. I agree with you. I love Raising Cane's. Love it. Brahms, love it. Never had the other two. I have heard about Portillo's quite a bit, so I trust you and Glenn Kinley talking about those two things. So,
so good.
Yeah, shout out to those guys. But all right, before we get into it, because we do have a lot to talk about, I want to thank our gold sponsors, Vista Credit Union and Family Guidance Center, and the University of Kansas Health System St. Francis campus for continuing to sponsor Top Sports News. Also want to shout out the ticker. We got a lot to talk about today. So obviously there's going to be a lot to talk about in the future with Substate basketball coming up. So keep using the ticker, keep putting those scores in because we want to stay up to date. Other families want to stay up to date. Fans want to stay up to date. So just keep putting those scores in there. But I'm going to rattle off a lot of names here. We're going to go through each tournament. I'll give Isaac the chance to talk if he wants to, but there's just so many names. So we're just going to roll through it. And we're starting off with the girls because the girls wrestled Wednesday and Thursday, followed by the boys Friday and Saturday. So starting off with the girls, the 5A and 6A state wrestling. They didn't have any champs. No Shawnee County champs came out of this tournament, but there is a ton of placers. Molly Spader from Washburn Rural, 5th at 100. Kristen Rezak from Washburn Rural, 3rd at 105. Annie Gallegos from Washburn Rural, 4th at 120. Addie Brocksterman from Washburn Rural, 3rd at 125. Reese Taylor from Shawnee Heights, 5th at 125. Madison Murray from Siemens, 6th at 125. Cody Best from Siemens, 2nd at 130. Lakin Clark, Washburn Rural, 5th at 130. Madison Freeland from Shawnee Heights, 2nd at 135. Alexis Fredrickson from Washburn Rural, 6th at 135. Cadence Heston Siemens, 6th at 140. Madison Davison from Washburn Rural, 4th at 145. Ashley Shores from Washburn Rural, 4th at 155. Sienna Graves from Shawnee Heights, 6th at 155. Tristan Johnson, Topeka West, 3rd at 235. And Sophia Ross from Washburn Rural, 5th at 235. As you can tell, that was a lot of Washburn Rural names. Washburn Rural won the state championship as a team by 12 points over Garden City. Shawnee Heights finished in 4th, and Seaman finished in 11th. So ton of success out of this tournament.
Yeah, man. No. Also, besides saying congratulations to everybody that placed in the state tournament with Washburn Rural, they have enough state placers to actually win a team championship despite having any individual victories. I also want to say congratulations to Caleb Jenneret for getting through that entire list without stuttering or without blinking, because I would have folded. But for you, man, how was that like? You spent some time down there this week. You got to see some great wrestling. I think you spent either a day watching the girls and then a day with the guys. But I'm curious to see kind of what was your experience like down there, just watching.
So it's actually I went to the 4A through 1A girls for a couple hours on Wednesday, who I'll talk about here next. But Yeah, I mean, and then I went to the boys Friday and Saturday. Coincidentally, I went to 4A boys who didn't have a single Shawnee Heights placer out of there. A couple guys from Hayden qualified, and I saw them wrestle for a little bit. But my brother wrestles for Santa Fe Trail, so he was down there wrestling, and got to watch him for a little bit. But yeah, I'm a huge wrestling junkie. I guess I'll say that. Wrestling's my thing. So anytime I get to watch wrestling, anytime I get to talk about wrestling, give it the love that it deserves. I just jump on the opportunity. So yeah, I mean, it was great. State wrestling's tough because you weigh in on Friday or Wednesday morning, and then you make even if you make the second day, you still have to weigh in that next day. So depending on how close you are, I know someone that was like 5 pounds overweight the night before he had to weigh in. So he makes weight, but he's so tired from the night before that he loses that next match and ends up being done for the day. But it's just a whole different thing. I mean, wrestlers just have to give up so much time, and they have to work so hard in these huge brackets, 32-man brackets. I mean, it's a ton. It's a ton. I think I said 32, 16. 16-man brackets for state. But yeah, no, it's crazy. Shout out to girls wrestling. Talk to some Keisha people at girls wrestling. If it's not the most, it's one of the fastest growing sports in the country. I mean, just 5 years ago, wrestling didn't even have a girls division in Kansas, and now they've split it up within two. They have over 2,000 wrestlers across the state. So shout out to girls wrestling. It's continuing to grow. Boys wrestling, as we know, has been a staple in Kansas for a long time. With Kansas, it's really surprising because I think Kansas is probably the biggest high school wrestling state that doesn't have a Division I wrestling program. So shout out to Kansas in that aspect. But yeah, no, it was a ton of fun. I watched wrestling for a total of probably at least 12 hours on last week. So, but no complaints here. I love it. I love it. But yeah, I went to 4A through 1A. So I'll get to that one right here. Shout out to our lone champion, Kendra Hurla, 3-time state champion from Rossville at 120. Made my prediction come true from a couple weeks ago. So shout out to you. Spoiler alert, we'll talk about you a little later. Kira Laycock from Rossville got second at 115, and Haley Horton from Rossville also got third at 155. So shout out to the Rossville Lady Dogs, as they were the only placers from that 4A through 1A from Shawnee County. But yeah, let's get over to the boys, because we got a lot of names here as well. In the 6A tournament, Easton Brocksterman at 113 and teammate Landon Cocker-Munoz at 120 were the lone champs in 6A. Other placers, all from Washburn Rural. Cooper Stivers at 132 got sixth. Blaine Bears fourth at 138. Christian Marshall from Washburn Rural, as I said, fourth at 150. Brody Byrne fourth at 157. So lots of Washburn Rural in there. They did finish fifth as a team in the tournament, beating their previous ranking by one. I think they were ranked sixth going into the tournament. So to get fifth in that tournament, it's a good thing. And then moving down to 5A, we had a state champ, Jackson Thomas from Seaman at 285. That was a really tough bracket. I mean, everybody in that bracket was super close. You just couldn't really pick one to come out of it. So for a guy from Shawnee County to come out of it, it's pretty huge. So shout out to Jackson Thomas. Other placers, Andrew Bonebreak from Shawnee Heights finishing at sixth at 132. Nick Freeland from Shawnee Heights finishing sixth at 150. Alan Bowman from Shawnee Heights finishing sixth at 175. And Sean Wonder, that's one of Isaac's guys right there. Sean Wonder from Shawnee Heights finishing third at 215. Shout out to Andrew Bonebreak. I was actually delivered by Dr. Bonebreak at St. Francis Hospital. So probably some relation there. But yeah, Dr. Bonebreak, hey, to you, I'm here.
That is not a common last name at all. Really. It's
especially for a doctor. Imagine being Dr. Bonebreak.
Hey, what if I told you my grandpa's a doctor? Dr. Deere, Dr. David Deere, alive and well. Yeah, University of Kansas, Medical Center. So shout out there. But yeah, that's my grandpa is a Dr. Deere. I will not be a doctor, by the way. That is far from my range. But yeah, you mentioned at the very beginning of mentioning 5A. It's like you think about Jackson Thomas, for instance. It's like he jumped 2 weight classes before his senior year because he wanted to wrestle by 285. And I mean, jumping 2 weight classes and then winning a state championship a year later is absolutely insane. That's huge. That's huge. And especially just, I mean, you mentioned it too. It's like that 285 class is so deep. And the
Mhm.
fact that Jackson Thomas came out on top is it's fascinating to me. But yeah, it's 6A as well. It's like you get some real tough dudes from Washburn Rural on top of the world. It's good stuff, man. I think that the wrestling, I know we've talked about it quite a bit. Maybe not enough. Maybe we should talk about it more, but like man, it's like the wrestling here in the county itself. You mentioned Rossville too. It's like Rossville doesn't get enough love as is, but what a cool thing, man. It's just a show out at state. I know our boss Rick Peterson he was there all week long, and I know he was busy. He was busy getting those interviews and talking to everybody. But man, super cool. And Kendra Hurla, three state championships. That is something else for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, and as I mentioned, 4A, we had no placers, but shout out to Hayden. They had a couple wrestlers there. And then 3A, 2A, 1A, Paxton Willett from Rossville finished third at 157, and Jacob Carver as well from Rossville finished fourth at 285. So those were all the state placers and state champions from the tournaments this weekend. A lot to talk about. I mean, that's just a ton. Shout out to everybody. As Isaac said, shout out to everybody because Shawnee Heights wrestling is, or not Shawnee Heights, sorry. Shawnee Heights is good. Shawnee County wrestling as a total has been really successful in recent memory and really successful for a long time. So shout out to everybody involved there. But now we got more. Before we get to a lot of basketball talk, we got some bowling talk. Washburn Rural girls tie for
Yeah.
first in 6A regional bowling as they head back to state, as well with the boys from Washburn Rural qualifying for 6A state as well.
Yeah, man. I was lucky to be there for that on Friday morning to late afternoon. But we started out with the girls. Washburn Rural girls, it wasn't an ordinary, runner-up finish. They finished second place right behind Olathe Northwest, but that second place got them to state. So they qualified for state as a team. So everybody that they have is going to Wichita this Saturday for state. But the second place finish wasn't like any other. It was a tie. It was a tie for first place, but the rule is I think it's the next highest placer for either team is going to determine who's first place or who is second place. And Olathe Northwest had the edge there. But it was deadlock tie between Washburn Rural and Olathe Northwest at 2,842. But that's not to take away from anything that they did. They bowled remarkable. I know Washburn Rural coach Joe Ricard is incredibly proud of the effort that the girls and boys, but the girls specifically right now put in. Claire Ireland paced Washburn Rural with a fifth place score. I think she pulled a 570, which is pretty good. It was an incredibly deep 6A regional. I mean, you think about the schools that are there, like Olathe Northwest, who finished first, Olathe North, Junction City, Olathe South, Lawrence High, Topeka High in the city. Topeka High has really shown out this year. This was an incredibly deep girls 6A regional, but Washburn Rural bowled really well, and it wasn't perfect for them too, because going into that Baker game, that final series, they were sitting in fifth place, but they came back at the Baker and was able to finish in that second place to tie with Olathe Northwest to go to state. So they actually had to come back there, which was obviously crucial. So they're back in the state title once again. Yeah, but the Washburn Rural boys, on the other hand, they did not make it to the state tournament last year, but this year they're back in. They qualified as well as a team. Obviously, in bowling, for people that don't know, if you qualify in state as a team, it doesn't matter about individual placers or anything else because everybody's going. So that's pretty cool. But Washburn Rural has had a deep lineup all year. You think about Josh Hammonds for Washburn Rural placed second. He had a 717 score, right behind Olathe Northwest's Tommy Mitchell. But Washburn Rural all year, the boys bowling has been super deep. Whether it's Josh Hammonds or Logan Glinka or Geo Peoples or Reese Godby or Walker Thompson or Tyler Farrow, man, like every single one of the starters basically have contributed to individual first place finish at some point this year. But Washburn Rural has just been so deep and so good. Like you just had a feeling like Washburn Rural was going to go to state. They're going to have a score good enough to go to state, and they did. And by the way, they finished right behind the Lathan Northwest yet again. So Lathan Northwest, shout out to you because you guys bowled your tails off the other day. So, but yeah, Washburn Rural boys as well, just putting in that work. And I mentioned Josh Hammonds finishing second place with he rolled a 717 series score out of 3 games before the Baker and everything else. And Logan Glinka finished 9th the other day with a 646 score. But Washburn Rural absolutely bowled phenomenal the other day, both boys and girls. And they're going to Wichita this weekend to try to win the whole thing basically. And I know Joe Ricard. I talked to her extensively for both boys and girls, and she's incredibly proud of both teams. It's been quite a year, and bowling just lasts. I mean, it's just this. It's so quick and so fast. You really can't take it all in until state or after or before. Just you can only enjoy it for so long. But Washburn Rural, shout out to you guys. You guys are going to state once again, and I can't wait to see what the final results are coming out of there.
We had another team sweep with the Seaman boys and girls both winning their regional championships. The boys winning edging DeSoto in theirs.
Yeah, the boys. Like you said, edging DeSoto, I think it is a good word because it was, I think, 17 pins. I think Seaman was 17 pins in front of DeSoto, fellow UKC foe. So I bet that felt good at regionals as well. But yeah, you get Ethan Burns finishing a top 3. I think he rolled a 703. And for Seaman, 643 you get with Xander White. And Dominic Figueroa bowled well as well with a 9th place finish, bowling 641. But yeah, with Seaman, Seaman boys and girls. We'll talk about the girls here in a second, but man, both teams have just been so good consistently. It seems like they've won every meet. I don't have an entire database of every single meet that they've bowled in this year in front of me, but Seaman has won most, if not all of them. But that 17 pin victory over DeSoto, I bet felt really, really nice. I think that was at West Ridge Lanes last Tuesday. So it was trying to think off the top of my head, but yeah, it was obviously great stuff from Seaman. As I mentioned, Ethan Burns pacing them with that 3rd place finish. And then going over to the girls, we've talked about the girls extensively, and rightfully so. And you also think about Topeka West girls bowling has been sensational this year. Kind of how, like we mentioned with Washburn Rural boys, it's like you get a different name. It seems like often, like who's going to pace them to win a team title, who's going to be that top 1, top 2, top 3 finish. And that's the case with the Seaman girls. It's like is it going to be Katie Price, or is it going to be Jalen Thetford, or who's it going to be this week that's going to kind of pace us? But Seaman as a team ended up winning 2,968 to 2,705 over Topeka West, fellow UKC and City School last week. In terms of individually, is number 1 goes to Topeka West, Megan Wood, who's had a fantastic year. Megan Wood has been great all year long. She bowled a 629, just ahead of Jalen Thetford from Seaman, who bowled a 602. But Seaman wins the team title. Topeka West comes in second. Topeka West is going to state. Seaman's going to state. I mean, it's the perfect situation for you and I, especially. But for both of those schools, that's awesome. That's fantastic stuff. And I just can't wait for this weekend to kind of hear the results. If I'm not going to Wichita, I can't wait to hear about it. Because really, it's been a fun year all year long, kind of just keeping up with the progress of 5A with Seaman and Topeka West. We've seen some great things from Highland Park, Shawnee Heights, and Hayden as well in 4A. But man, it was a fun bowling year, and I'm very mad that it lasted this long because I want to go back and watch some more. But congratulations to everybody that contributed to the success of their teams this year, their bowling teams, and um, like I said just a second ago, I can't wait to see what comes out of this weekend. But I imagine we're going to do some pretty good things. As a Shawnee County citizen, I think we're going to do some pretty good things this weekend.
Moving over to the basketball court, there is a lot of basketball to talk about. We got Substate week, so every single team is getting into their postseason. How long they stay, well, we have yet to figure out, but we're going to talk about every single matchup coming up. So what to watch? We got some 6A in the girls. Topeka High, number 4 seed, will host number 13 seed Garden City on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Topeka High looks to stay hot as they've been playing really well.
Yeah, Topeka High is 8-1 against non-conference opponents too, which I think is a really important stat to look at. And Garden City hasn't won 2 games since January 6th. So I mean, it's been a while since Garden City's been on top of things. Since Topeka High obviously is highly favored in this one. I know Garden City, I think, has a first-year head coach as well. So I mean, obviously, a lot of stuff to work through. But I think Topeka High takes care of business here, and Kiki Smith and LaDacia Baird and Kamara Marshall have both they have big games offensively and defensively, but I think Topeka High will definitely take care of business in this one.
Yeah. Moving over to the other side of Topeka, number 5, Washburn Rural will host number 12, Manhattan on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Centennial League matchup.
Yeah, right in the league. They've seen each other twice this year already. So, famously, I talked to Dwayne Paul, and he said if you see somebody 3 times, it's absolutely the worst. But so Washburn Rural and Manhattan will meet for a 3rd time this year. And Washburn Rural girls have had quite an edge on Manhattan. Washburn Rural won both of its meetings this year against Manhattan, and Rural has actually beaten Manhattan 13 straight times dating back to March 7th of 2018. I think this will be a winnable matchup for Washburn Rural, but they definitely do not count out Manhattan because they've seen each other quite a bit. If you see a team 3 times, I mean, you guys know each other really, really well. But in this substate as well, they're Topeka High and Washburn Rural are in the same substate. But the Lady Trojans will definitely be aiming for that 5th straight state tournament berth, but they'd have to go to Washburn Rural or go through Washburn Rural for it. And Washburn Rural won the 6A state title last year, and Washburn Rural this year. If Washburn Rural and Topeka High were both to win, they'd face each other in the substate for the championship. And Rural is 2-0 against Topeka High this year, so both Topeka High and Washburn Rural play each other. They would play each other for a 3rd time, so that would be interesting, and I hope that I'm on that on Saturday. But I'll be there for Washburn Rural and Manhattan on Wednesday night, and I can't wait to see it.
It's gonna be a good one. Moving over to the 6A boys, this is actually crazy. Topeka High and Garden City will play each other, but it's completely flipped. Number 16 seed Topeka High will travel to number 1 overall seed Garden City on Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Yeah, the 19-1 Garden City Buffs, man. They've been extremely impressive all year long. I think Garden City's one and only loss was against Wichita Heights, who made, trying to think off the top of my head if they won a state championship last year. I think they did. For the boys side, the Garden City's only loss this year was against Heights on January 21st. But you look at all 5 Garden City starters, you can't find too many flaws. 7 guys in that lineup that play a ton. They play a ton of minutes, and Garden City usually rolls with their starters most of the game. Usually that starting 5 is who they stick with. Another interesting quirk that Garden City has, they have 2 left-handed point guards that run the show. Yeah, pretty cool. So both baseball guys, by the way. So good for Garden City for that. For some doing recruiting there, spring sports is around the corner. We'll get to that in a couple weeks. But yeah, I guess a couple weeks we'll get.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Move
crazy.
fast.
But you think about some of the guys that Garden City has, like Jay Steinmetz. He averages about 20 points a night or so for Garden City. He's committed to Doane University for basketball. Great player. Caleb Weesey for Garden City. He's kind of the rock of the team. Their star, their go-to. He'll go to Fort Hays State to play football, but they got a couple of really, really good dudes. And that whole starting five as a whole is really good, and that's why they're 19-1. But for Topeka High, man, they have one of the most deceiving records in all of Kansas high school hoops, man. Like 3-17, but they got some lethal shooters. It's like you think about Mason Gomez to Michael Hales, Jaden Norman's really, really good. And Isaiah Lyons, especially, man, they got some really, really good players. And if they get hot, and they can beat anybody. I believe truly that Topeka High can beat anybody on any given day. They just haven't found the win column as much. They've been in so many close games against really, really good teams this year that I wouldn't write this off as a blowout win in Garden City on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. I think this will be I think Topeka High will not lay down for anybody, and I actually think they could probably put up some points. So on Tuesday night, that could actually be an interesting game, but I definitely wouldn't write it as a blow-off.
Mm-hmm. And then the other game in 6A, number 4, Washburn Rural will host number 13, Hayesville Campus.
Yeah, in Washburn Rural, the boys team is as well as the girls team has been really, really good this year. The boys team in the months of January and February alone, I think Washburn Rural is 11-3. So they've been really good, and campus hasn't found that luck that Washburn Rural has, and I wouldn't call it really luck for Washburn Rural. But Jack Batchelor and the crew, man, they are absolutely rolling right now. 14-5 record. They get to host a Substate game. I think Washburn Rural wins this one. And I think they advance to the Substate championship, and it'll be definitely, 6A is always tough. It's always a really, really tough class. But I think Washburn Rural, I'll mention it in my bold takes later, but I think Washburn Rural can definitely do some damage in this Substate. But I think they win. I think they win this week against campus, respectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got the chance to watch them against Manhattan a couple weeks, maybe it was last week. I don't know. Weeks kind of blend together for me now, but Washburn Rural looks really good. Jack Baxter, as you said, he can score the ball, man, and he can do a lot of things. So Washburn Rural is a dangerous team to watch out for. Moving over to 5A, we've talked about them a lot. The girls basketball, Topeka Seaman will host Schlegel on Tuesday at 7 p.m. I would safely say that Seaman is probably favored in this game by a good margin.
Yeah, I think they are favored over 20 this game against Schlegel on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Obviously, we know about Seaman. We know who they have. If you don't know who these players are, you can check out past episodes, or you can check out anything that I tweet on Tuesday and Fridays. It usually has the Seaman girls basketball team involved in some way or form. But Anna Becker, Taylor Stahlbaumer, Carson Anderson, JC Schumann, Brooklyn Gormley. I don't have the whole roster in front of me, but the whole roster can definitely make an impact. Jada Stahlbaumer's really come along, but Schlegel with 1-15 with a 1-15 record against Seaman. Seaman hasn't lost a game in a long while. And the team that they lost to, they blew out by almost 30 points. 30 points last week. So obviously, I think Seaman's going to win this one. I think they're going to win comfortably. And the winner of this game will face either number 8 seed Casey Sumner, who's 14-6, or number 9 Piper, who's in the same conference as Seaman with a 14-6 record. But I think Seaman wins this one.
Yeah. And then moving over to Shawnee Heights, number 6 seeded Shawnee Heights will host fellow UKC I said that right, UKC foe, sorry. It's been a long episode, DeSoto, on Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Yeah, man. Shawnee Heights on Tuesday night against DeSoto. That'll be a fun one. You know your enemy. You know your enemy really, really well. We talked about it with 6A. If you play somebody for a third time, it's never fun because you know each other. I mean, hey, you know each other extremely well, so it can't be too great. But I love Shawnee Heights' team this year, man. 14-6, they've beaten some really really good teams. Taylor Rottinghouse, Emory Doby. The list goes on and on from top to bottom. I think Shawnee Heights has been one of the most quality teams this year. They've snuck in that top 10 in 5A this year. I think the sub-state for Shawnee Heights is really good. We'll get to the other sub-state in a second, but man, Shawnee Heights against DeSoto, what do you want more? Is to face somebody that you know that well, you've seen film of so many times. But honestly and truly, I think the Lady Thunderbirds come on top and beat DeSoto on its home court on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. Number 15, Topeka West will travel to the number 2 seed Andover on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pretty long drive for the Lady Chargers.
Yeah, that Andover, man, that's a far trip. That is a far trip for sure. I did get to see Topeka West beat Leavenworth the other night on its home court on Friday night, and they looked really, really good, man. I mean, I think there was just a couple. So the first 2 possessions of the game, Topeka West turned the ball over, but for the remainder of the half, they turned it over 2 times, and then the second half, they Leavenworth got the lead within 3, but then they ran away with it after that. But Topeka West is actually a really, really good team. They got some great post players. I think Jasmine Ford is really coming along, and then the guard position, Amani McGlory is really good. But Topeka West, man, I would definitely not sleep on them. Jeff Scar is a great coach. He knows how to lead a team, and I think I would definitely not sleep on Topeka West in this one. And I think the winner of that matchup will face Goddard Eisenhower or Salina Central, which should be another road trip for them since they are the number 15. If Topeka West did win, they would be the number 15 seed. But yeah, man, that would be another road trip for them. But I definitely could see Topeka West doing some damage against a really good Andover team.
Yeah, and you mentioned Leavenworth a little bit, is who Topeka West played last. That's who Highland Park will host, the number 3 seeded Highland Park, hosting number 14 seed Leavenworth on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Look for the Lady Scots to keep things rolling in this one.
Who would I mean, honestly, like this year was this is one of the greatest years that Highland Park has had in a very, very long time. They get Leavenworth, which like I just mentioned, I just saw them the other night, and I think Leavenworth and Highland Park are actually very similar teams. Leavenworth's 4-16 record is really, really deceiving. I think Leavenworth's actually a really good team. They just some shots weren't falling and stuff like that. But I think Highland Park and Leavenworth match up really, really well. So I think this could be a very close game. And this is not a shade on anybody. I just think Leavenworth's actually really good. So that Topeka, the Highland Park game against Leavenworth could be really good. And if Highland Park does win that, they would get Shawnee Heights in the Substate Championship, which would really be great for us, our jobs. But that would be, they wouldn't have to travel really far or at all. I think from California Avenue, where Highland Park is, to where Shawnee Heights is, I think it's like less than 10-minute drive. So that'd be kind of, yeah. So, but yeah, I think Highland Park will win. I just think it actually, it matches up well for both schools.
Yeah, and staying with Highland Park, that's who we're going to get to next. 5A boys, number 1 overall seed. We've talked about them all year. The Running Scots will host a number 16 seed Lansing on Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, this one, you look at the 20-0 record that Highland Park has, 2-18 from Lansing, but it's playoff time now. Everybody's 0-0. We get that. We understand. But Highland Park is destined for greatness this year. Their bench is good enough to be a starting 5 for almost anybody in the entire state. That's how good Highland Park is this year. So don't like this matchup for Lansing. Love it for Highland Park. We can get to this later, but I think this will be a good game for Highland Park. No disrespect to Lansing. This is just what I've seen a lot of Highland Park basketball this year against a lot of different people, and I think this Ryan Scott's team is destined for something, and I think they win on Wednesday night.
Mhm. Moving on to a surprising season, to say the least. The number 8 seeded returning state champion Seaman High School will host number 9 seed St. James Academy on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Don't let these Vikings get hot, because you saw what happened last year. So look out for Seaman to make a run if they can win this game.
Yeah, St. James Academy is such a tough team last year. You think about, we just talked about Highland Park. It's like Seaman, St. James, and Highland Park were all in the 5A state tournament last year. So, I mean, this Substate itself is brutal. I mean, it's extremely brutal. But man, Caden Bonner is healthy, one of their stars. Aaron Davis, both seniors. Aaron Davis, another big time player. He's healthy. I mean, Seaman's just getting healthy and hot at the right time too. I know Craig Cox, their head coach, he got his 300th win, 200th win the other night. Can't think off the top of my head, but just because we have so much information to run through. But congratulations to Craig Cox for reaching a milestone there. But Seaman and St. James, that'll be one heck of a matchup in North Topeka on Wednesday night. But the winner of that game gets Highland Park in the pressure cooker, which would be awesome. Whoever they play, whoever Highland Park plays, it'll be, despite Atchison, the Atchison boys team who's number 1 in 5A. I think this could be the toughest match for Highland Park all year. If Highland Park beats Lansing, it could be interesting. We could get an old Centennial League matchup between Highland Park and Seaman, which would be great, because I've been missing that city versus city action this year. But Seaman's got a tough match with St. James Academy, and St. James Academy is definitely someone not to sleep on, because they, like I said, they both were in the state tournament last year, and it'll be a great game on Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm. And then Shawnee Heights, number 5 seed Shawnee Heights will host number 12 seed KC Washington on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Shawnee Heights continues to have a good year.
Yeah, I've seen Washington play once. That's who they have on Wednesday night, and I've seen Shawnee Heights play a few times this year too, and I think Shawnee Heights will probably win this one. You think about Jared Sanchez and Brandon Dodge and Deacon Pomeroy. There's just so many names. Like I said, this list that we have is long, so I'm trying to get to this as quick as possible, because we have a deadline to meet. We have time to get through, but Shawnee Heights, really, really good. Ken Darting's teams always have sensational play on defense, and I don't think Washington will be able to keep up with Shawnee Heights, especially their sharpshooters. So I think Shawnee Heights will win that. And if they do win, they'll either take on Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, or they'll host Spring Hill after that for the Substate final.
Mm-hmm. Then number 7 Topeka West to round out 5A will host number 10 Arc City on Wednesday at 6 p.m. as well.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier in the episode, I did get to see Topeka West play the other night, and they're a little shorthanded right now. For undisclosed reasons, but they got Arkansas City on Wednesday night, which Arkansas City is actually a pretty tough team. I was looking through what they've done this year, and Ark City is actually pretty good. But Topeka West a little bit shorthanded right now. They might get some guys back, but their bench, man, they looked really good the other day. Kimani Paul, we really showed out as a freshman. Duncan showed out well. There's a bunch of guys for Topeka West that's not named Xavier Alexander that played really well, because Xavier Alexander, you know what you're going to get from that guy. You're going to get a bunch of threes. You're going to get constant energy, quick ball movement. I mean, Topeka West, even though they're rolling with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores right now, man, they're really talented. I think Rick Bloomquist, the head coach for Topeka West, has done just wonders for this team this year. And I think Topeka West, man, I think they can win this game against Arkansas City. They'd have to go to, if they did win that game, they'd have to go to Hutchinson if Hutchinson were to beat the 15 seed Salina Central, which would be a really tough game for them. But I think Topeka West will definitely take that step forward on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. against Arc City.
Mhm. And then we got two teams, one school to talk about in 4A Substate. Hayden, we'll start off with the girls. The number 7 seeded Hayden girls, 13-7 record, host number 10 Atchison on Wednesday at 7 p.m. You can't really look at the Hayden girls record and say what they are, because they do play a lot of bigger schools, still being in that Centennial League. I'll talk about them a little bit later, but yeah, Hayden girls will still host their sub-state matchup against Atchison.
I've also seen Atchison play this year against Highland Park in the Scotland, in the pressure cooker at Highland Park this year. And I've seen Hayden play more times than I've probably breathed oxygen this year, man. I've seen Hayden so much this year that I know this team pretty well. Hayden and Atchison, I like the matchup for Hayden on Wednesday at 7 p.m. at Hayden. I think Lauren Sandstrom and Briley Meyer might present some problems for Atchison down in the post. And Lauren Sandstrom, I mean, you can't say enough about her production this year. Absolute machine. She's tall. She can shoot. Makes everybody around her better. And Briley Meyer, as a sophomore, is playing like a veteran. Those two players alone can just do so much damage and can be such impact players for their own team, which they are. And then they got some really, like Norma Greco, who doesn't get she doesn't give enough love as is, but she's a great shooter as well. Jill Leonard is really good at passing. Reagan Husher, she's a really good shooter as well. But Hayden's really deep. This Atchison team has some really couple decent sharpshooters as well. But I love this matchup for Hayden. And if they win this game, they'll go to either Fort Scott on I can't think if it's Thursday or Friday. Either they're going to go to Fort Scott or they're going to host Coffeeville. But I like the matchup for Hayden.
Yeah, and same story with Hayden boys, 10-10 on the year, but they have played a lot of really good teams all year as well. They're the number 9 seed, and they're going to travel to Parsons on Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Same story as last year, man. They have that record either at 500, below 500, or above 500. Man, they've only played good quality opponents all year. They're more hungry than ever. They finished the regular season with a loss against Eudora, who's number 3 in 4A, by this much, man. It was such a slim margin of a game, but yeah, no, Hayden's hungry, man. They got Joe Otting, they got Jake Muller, they got their guys, they got Dwayne Paul coaching them. They're going to be ready, and they're going to give anybody who they face, just problems, especially in 4A. It'll be a really, really nice setup for Hayden. Because last year, man, they came into the state tournament as a bottom seed, the very last seed. They barely made it to state with their record. They won the way they won, which was great. But the very first game, man, they were the bottom seed. They knock off Eudora. And I don't know if you know this or not, but our basketball preview this year, some guy said Hayden, the Hayden boys team was going to win it all in 4A. I don't know who that could be, but I think they could still do it, man. Or one of us thinks they can still do it. I don't know who picked them to win the state tournament, but it could be anybody. Not a clue. Not a clue.
Moving down to 3A, we've talked about them a lot as well. These Silver Lake Lady Eagles, 18-1 this year, will face number 8 Royal Valley on Monday at 7 p.m.
We got a Monday Substate game. That's fun. Don't have a lot of those. Thank you, 3A, for that. Appreciate you. Can't wait to have fun tomorrow night. Or if you're watching this tomorrow, which would be Monday, when the episode is published.
Maybe tonight.
It's tonight, baby. Let's have some fun. We got some good 3A games going on tonight or tomorrow. Yeah, whenever you're watching, be tonight.
Well, yeah.
Silver Lake, though, 18-1 against a Royal Valley team who has not had very good luck this year, sitting at 4-16. Silver Lake did face Royal Valley in the first round of Substate last year, similar to this year, and knocked them out with a 56-35 win with the exact same starting five that they have this year. So the odds are in Silver Lake's favor. I do think Silver Lake takes care of business here, respectfully, and I think they advance to 3A. So they play another person, then they go to the Substate.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Silver Lake makes it all the way, but
Mm.
I think they do win against Royal Valley at home tonight on Monday night,
Yes.
7 p.m.
Yes. Staying in Silver Lake. Well,
Eastern. Sorry, 8 p.m. Eastern.
8
If
p.m.
you're watching from
Love it. So still talking about Silver Lake, but we are actually not at Silver Lake anymore, as the number 6 seeded Silver Lake boys will travel. Correct? Will travel
Yeah.
to number 3 Atchison Moore Mount Academy Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Yes, Tuesday night hoops. Atchison Mount Academy. Man, that is a tongue twister, mouthful there.
The
On
Ravens.
Tuesday night. Silver Lake's gotten hot though. I know they lost that last game, but they were riding high with either a 3-game or 4-game winning streak. Silver Lake boys are pretty good. They got big Troy Hyman there as well. Washburn football commit Troy Hyman. We talked about him a lot in football. Talked about him some in basketball, but man, he is a game wrecker. He can shoot. He's very, very tall. He's a great ball handler. So Troy Hyman can make an impact on any night. I don't know much about this Atchison Mauer Hill. Is it Mauer or Moore
Hill Mount
Academy?
I think Mauer Hill Mount Academy. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know much about them. Not gonna lie. I don't know a ton about Atchison Moore Hill Mount Academy. All I know is that they have a really tough name, but I know that Silver Lake is also tough as nails. Just like their name, they're tough as nails. So I'm not sleeping on Silver Lake for anything, boys or girls. I think the boys, if they don't win, they'll definitely put up a big fight. But that should be an interesting game on Tuesday night.
Yeah, for sure. And then going right down 24, the number 3 seeded Rossville girls will host Perry Lecompton another Monday night at 7 p.m. So Highway 24 is going to have a lot of people going down and watching these big time matchups.
Definitely. Monday night will be a good one on War 24. And Topeka, the city itself might be a little boring on Monday night. But if you go down the road, go down US 24. Or if you're in Topeka and you're in downtown like I am, you'll get on I-70 and then you go off Carlson Road and you'll get on Carlson Road and then you'll turn right on 24 and then you'll turn into the parking lot to Rossville. And then you'll get there and you'll enjoy yourself with some nice basketball because Rossville girls are good at basketball. And Perry Lecompton, always tough. I did get to witness Rossville knock off a Rock Creek team who's been top 10 in 4A a few times this year. Last Tuesday in double overtime. Shout out to Rossville there. Kinsey P. Ryan, 10 points in that double overtime period to win the game. Spoiler alert, we'll get to her later. But Rossville girls are really good, man. I'm trying to think. It's like you think about Perry Lecompton's on a 6-game losing streak, and Rossville is 4-2 in February, and it's 2 losses in February for Rossville or against Silver Lake and Riley County. You think about Silver Lake, they're 18-1. Who's their one loss to? Riley County. So it's like they're Rossville's lost to just nothing but good teams. But now it's 0-0, like I mentioned earlier. Everybody's 0-0. But Rossville girls are really good. I like what Emma Mitchell's doing. I like Katie Spielman and Kinsey P. Ryan and Riley Dick and everybody that, everybody's playing really, really good. Cheyenne Hahn off the bench. But yeah, I think Rossville will win that game and it'll definitely be fun. It'll definitely be fun tonight. Today's Monday on this episode. Tonight, 7 p.m. Central time.
Yes. Central time.
Yes, sir.
Number 8, sticking in Rossville. Number 8, Rossville boys will travel to KCK to take on number 1, Bishop Ward on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Who Rossville has had experience with Bishop Ward earlier this year.
They have had experience with Bishop Ward this year, Caleb. I like the research, man. I love it. Yeah, back on December 6th is either the opener, the second game of the year. I don't have it in front of me, but Rossville did lose 65-54 against Bishop Ward, and Bishop Ward rightfully so, 17-3. Good team. I think Rossville will get to play at Kansas City, Kansas Junior College on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Against Bishop Ward. But man, I can't just discount anything that Rossville has done this year. Brandon McDonald, their head coach, he's with Rick Bloomquist at Topeka West for a very long time. I know him pretty well. Gotten to talk to him quite a bit. He's got an extremely young team. But their young team will go to war with each other, and I think I just can't throw Rossville in the back or anything. I think that you think about guys like St. Mildred and Jack Donovan and Jacoby McDonald, and there's some really good pieces there like Tayson Horak and others that if Rossville did win, if they did go to KCK Junior College and beat Bishop Ward on Tuesday night, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think that they can do it. And yeah, so I mean, if Rossville does win, I won't be surprised. You will not catch this guy shocked in the in the least. But yeah, it could be a fun matchup if you're facing somebody twice. And Rossville fights to from the first whistle to the last. So that should be fun for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. And then finally, wrapping it up with 2A Substate, talking about the Care Paravel. 2 5 seeds facing 2 4 seeds. The Care Paravel girls will face the number 4 seed Linden in the first round, while the boys will face the number 4 seed Mission Valley.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. There's a lot of similarities here. Number 5 versus number 4. Care Paravel girls get to face Flint Hills League School Linden, the Linden Tigers. I went to West Franklin, another Flint Hills League school. I guess I could say go Falcons, except we sucked at everything at the time, but respectfully, respectfully. I was a part of that. I contributed to the suckiness. But Care Paravel girls against Linden, the number 4 seed. Linden's been really good all year. It'll be a fight for Care Paravel, but Care Paravel is 7-13, and their 7 wins are high quality wins too. So similar to when I was talking about Rossville. Wouldn't be surprised if Care Paravel did really well in this, and if they left Linden with a win. What highway is that? Down, you're a Santa Fe Trail guy. What highway is that?
Are you talking about 56?
Is it 56?
56, and I think you get off on 59. Right?
That could be. So it's like you get from Topeka, you pass like Carbondale and Overbrook, and then you get to that roundabout where Linden is, and then Pomona's there, and then like Alma, Kansas is on the, what highway?
I think it's 59 because I think if you're going from Lawrence, wait, no.
Not Lawrence. It's like
Lawrence.
We'll look it up later. Not important. We'll look it up later.
If you're curious.
Yeah. But that should definitely be a good matchup. And for the boys, Eskridge, Kansas, were the Mission Valley Vikings, another Flint Hills League school, another team. I've been to Eskridge, Kansas quite a bit as a youngin', and man, there is nothing there. Nothing in Pomona either, except for a pizza place, Mexican food place.
You get ice cream.
Yeah, sure, definitely. And then there's Casey's and a Dollar General, and then if you go, let's see, that's east. So if you go 15 minutes west of Pomona, there's a whole lake there with the name in front of it. So no disrespect to Eskridge, Kansas at all. I bet you guys are all phenomenal people. I'm just saying you guys don't have anything like what I had, so which was nothing. But anyway, so I think the Care Paravel boys, 8-12. They got some really good guys as well. Jace Pavlik, most notably, has been balling. Care Paravel and Mission Valley, who's sitting at 11-9, I think. On the first round on Monday night, it's Monday Night Basketball. There's nothing better than Monday Night Basketball. Because, the rest of the week is really busy, so it's really nice to get these Monday night games. Thank you, small schools. Love you guys. But, yeah, should be fun for both boys and girls. Curious to
Mm.
see how that goes.
Yeah. And then before we get into what everybody's waiting for with the best segment in Shawnee County, best list in Shawnee County, we can go on and on. We're going to get some bold sub-state predictions. I've only got one, so I'll let Isaac go first if you have more.
Ooh, I think I have three. That I'll say in public. I think I'll have three. Um, let's go to my first one here. It's not very bold because you guys know the top sports talk fans of the number one talk show in Topeka and Shawnee County know this, but I picked Hayden to win a state championship at the very beginning of the year. I think Hayden boys will beat Atchison in the sub-state championship and will complete the Cinderella story from last year. They're missing that slipper from last year. They were this close. I think they complete the quest. I think Dwayne Paul, Joe Otting, Jake Muller, Jacob Padilla, Daxton Ham, and the boys, I think they get it done. I think they get it done. I think they win the whole thing. So I think Hayden will have their couple of stops in sub-state, and I think they run the course after that. But I'll get to one more sub-state, and I'll flip it to you, and then we can just go back to me if you want.
Sure. Well, actually, I'll just say mine right now because mine was also Hayden. Mine was also Hayden girls and boys both go on huge runs because when you've played these really tough schools all year, you're not, even if you don't have the best record, just being over 500 or 500 in the boys' case is really successful when you've played Washburn Rural, Manhattan, Junction City. When you played these really tough teams all year, it really shows when you have a record like that. So I would not be surprised at all, and I'm actually picking it in our bold predictions that Hayden girls and boys are both going to make a state run in this playoff.
Hey now, hey, I'm rubbing off on you. Let's go, man. Let's go. I got two more bold predictions for you. One, I think the Topeka West boys, despite being shorthanded, I think they win their sub-state, and I think they make the state tournament again under the leadership of the legendary coach Rick Bloomquist. I think the Topeka West boys will head back to the 5A state tournament for another year, just like last year. I think that the young depth on their team is extraordinary. I think their leadership that they have, whether it's the coaches or the very few upperclassmen that they have on their team, is really good. I think they faced a lot of tough competition this year and have prevailed in the toughest situations. And I think Topeka West boys will be bound to make a deep run here. So I think that they're going to win their sub-state, and I think they're going to make a run. Then my last one, I think Rossville girls and the Silver Lake girls will meet in the sub-state championship game. Oh my gosh, that's a tongue twister. Rossville and Silver Lake will meet in the sub-state championship game. And I think the game will go into overtime. I think it'll go into overtime. Face each other for a third time this year on 24 high. Like, man, like the possibilities are, I mean, the roof is so high for this that if they do face each other, they will face each other in the sub-state championship game. This overtime will be epic. It'll be something that people talk about for years to come. I think this Rossville Silver Lake girls game has the potential to be something really, really cool. But that's my bold prediction there. Rossville Silver Lake sub-state championship game, overtime. I'm not going to say who wins, but I will say it'll be an overtime.
There you go. There you go. Well, now getting to everybody's favorite segment of the week, Fave 5. But I don't know why I said but. I didn't have anything to say there. But now it's here. I know it's been a long time. You guys have waited. It's been a long episode, but we are finally here. So let's get
it. All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ooh. All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ah, dang it. 2-0. That doesn't happen. Usually we go like best 2 out of 3 for like 50 times and then you win, but you know, 2-0.
I think last week too, I was 2-0. So I think I've been on a roll.
Yeah, you have.
Just saying. Yeah. Someone challenging. I'm getting too good.
Yep.
Here we go. Starting off number 5, my lone baller on this week's list, Amelia Ramsey from Highland Park. She had 27, 13 and a 69-22 win over Harmon, 27 and 14 in the 76-29 win over Schlegel, and 26 points and 13 rebounds in the 58-16 win over Washington. So Amelia Ramsey's been balling like always. I mean, she's only number 5. Wouldn't surprise me if she would be number 1 this week either. I mean, she's just been balling. She's been on the list countless times. So shout out to Amelia Ramsey. You just made the list.
Absolutely great pick. Arguably could be a 1 pick, could be a 2 pick, 3, 4, or 5. Amelia Ramsey. There's just so many state champions and everything else to go around. Spoiler for later, but yeah, you're right. She's been absolutely balling lately. My number 5 is going to go to Josh Hammonds, a bowler for Washburn Rural. Runner-up finish at the 6A regional for boys. Rolled a really, really good game, really good 3-game series, finished with a 7-17 score, and really helped Washburn Rural get to go to state this upcoming weekend with his 7-17 score. But Josh Hammonds rolled a great game. What can I say? He's a part of a great group. Joe Ricard's a great group, but yeah, Josh Hammonds, congratulations, man. You just made the list.
Yeah, we got some bowling here with Ethan Burns making my number 4 spot from Seaman. Got third at regionals, didn't win the thing, but it was Seaman's best score, and Seaman did win the regional as a team, qualifying them for state as a team. So shout out to Ethan Burns. You just made my list.
Great pick. We just talked about them earlier, who I'm going to get to next. The Rossville Lady Dogs. Kenzie Pirine, man. Let's talk about her for a second. Rossville prevailing in a 2 overtime 61-52 win over Mid-East League rival Rock Creek, a team they haven't beaten in a very long time. 9-game losing streak against Rock Creek coming into that game. Rossville wins in double overtime. Rossville's 2 leading scorers go out due to foul trouble. They foul out. Kenzie Pirine's not a passer. She's not a scorer. She's a pass first guard, a pesky defender. They had to lean on her to be the main scorer in double overtime. And that wasn't a problem for her. She put the game away in the second overtime with 10 points, made the game unwinnable for Rock Creek. So Kenzie Pirine, you just made the list.
Congratulations. Madison Freeland, moving on to some wrestling. Madison Freeland from Shawnee Heights finished second at 135 in the 5A, 6A Girls State Championships, but she's only a sophomore. And en route to her second place finish, she beat 3 senior wrestlers before losing in the finals to another senior. So she has a lot to look forward to in her very young career. I'm predicting way too early, but I'm predicting a gold medal in the future for Madison Freeland. So shout out to you. You just made my list.
Hey, hey man, that's a great pick. That is a really good pick, even with the runner-up finish. If you go that far in wrestling, especially for state, go to the very end. That's huge. My number 3, we're going back to the lanes, big guy. We're going back to the lanes. Megan Wood for Topeka West rolled a 629 at the 5A regional, took a first place finish, individual finish at the 5A regional, helping Topeka West get that second place finish and go to state as a team. Megan Wood's been great all year. I mentioned it earlier at the beginning of the episode. Megan Wood's been fantastic for this team. The Topeka West girls team is really good in general. But yeah, that really their bowling team itself, boys and girls, has been phenomenal. But Megan Wood has been a key catalyst for the girls side. So Megan Wood, your impact at the 5A regional is good enough to make the list. You're in my number 3 spot.
Now we got some gold medalists to talk about. Easton Brocksterman from Washburn Rural become a state champion. Can't beat that. Really dominated the whole time as well, winning by tech fall in round 1, pin in round 2, 10-0 in the semis, and then 12-4 in the finals. Never a doubt, Easton Brocksterman, you are a state champion. Congratulations, you just made my list.
Oh man, that's a fantastic pick. This list was remarkably hard this week. This whole episode has been remarkably hard this week because we're trying to get everybody mentioned,
Yeah.
but we just don't have enough time to do it. So yeah, this has been a difficult list. I wish we could put all of our gold medalists at number one because deservedly so. I think they all are number one here. But I'm going to go to a gold medalist myself for number two. We're going to go to Landon Cocker Munoz from Washburn Rural. He's just a freshman, but he took the mat, delivered an 11-4 decision over Olathe East sophomore Aiden Stewart to cap off his first state appearance for the 120-pound title. Landon Cocker Munoz has been really good all year long, and he finishes it with the highest honor you could possibly get. And as a freshman, winning a state title, how cool is that? But yeah, Landon Cocker Munoz, you just made the list.
Yeah, shout out to Landon because he had a tough road. And I think in the quarterfinals he won 6-4, I want to say, and then in the semis he won 8-6, I think, in overtime, and then kind of dominated his finals match. I think 11-4 was the final score.
Yep.
But yeah, had a tough road to get there. But yeah, when you get to gold, nothing else matters. So shout out Landon. But my number one, I mentioned her earlier in the episode. She made my prediction come true. Kendra Hurla from Rossville, now a three-time state championship or state champion. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but next year, 4. Knock on wood. That's for you. Kendra Hurla, 3-time state champion. Congratulations. You just made the list.
Obviously. I mean, come on now. I mean, go dogs. You know what they say. My number one, going up Ward 24 or Warren 20. We're going up Highway 24.
There you go.
And then we're going to, that'd be left. We're going to take a left. We're going to go down Topeka Boulevard. We're going to take another left on a roundabout and then drive somewhere, turn right on some street. Okay. Anyways, North Topeka, Steeman, Vikings. Let's go, Jackson Thomas. You're number one on my list. 285 pounds. He completed his improbable championship run this year with a second period pin over Blue Valley Southwest senior Torrin Forsyth, capping off a 46-5 season for the senior. Jackson Thomas had to jump up 2 weight classes to make his weight here before the season started. And running back in football, 285-pound weight class. I mean, that's just impressive stuff. And the fact that he just won it all in one of the toughest divisions in the 6A boys wrestling. I mean, and just incredible stuff from Jackson Thomas, but or 5A wrestling, excuse me, earlier. But Jackson Thomas, man, I mean, what a year. But man, you got to make a list with that one. You got to.
You got to. Well, thank you guys. If you made it this far, you're a true number one. You're a true fan. You're the real MVP. This is, I don't even know how long the episode has been. We started 3 different Zoom calls. I mean, it's just ridiculous at this point. But we will be back next week to talk all things Substate and get the results from state bowling as well. But yeah, Isaac, you got anything else before we sign off?
My friend, you got a little bit more editing to do on this episode than you did the last episode. It's been crazy. We were talking before this episode aired that this is the most jam-packed episode we've ever had. It really has. This has been because you got 3 different sports doing very, very significant things all at once. It's definitely very difficult. So sorry if we missed names. But I guarantee it's not on purpose. We've just I've had some hair fall out trying to put this together because we just love everybody so much. We want to make sure everybody gets the recognition that they deserve, and we hope we did you guys justice. But man, what a time to support Shawnee County Athletics, be a writer, be a reporter for Shawnee County Athletics. I mean, it's just super cool, and I'm really, really impressed of what I've seen. But man, it's not over yet. We got more stuff to talk about in the weeks to come. But congratulations to all the wrestlers that did work this last weekend down in Wichita, Hartman Arena, doing some great work there. Congratulations to the bowlers making state, and for the basketball teams, congratulations for just hooping, man. Just hooping. We got some basketball to talk about next week and some bowling, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, 100%. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. But with that, we will see you guys next week.